It's November. We're nearing the end of the year. Um, this is the time where, in the United States, for those who are not in the United States watching us, we will later in the month eat a dead bird and lots of side foods. We'll overeat until we are in pain and tired, um, and watch probably some college football or some such nonsense. So in that vein, I went looking because at our last meeting I said, hey, let's think about holiday appropriate programs, and usually that means Christmas stuff, but um, Family Computing, the magazine Family Computing, used to do this kind of thing all the time, and they were really good about they'd write this beautiful program that would run in full color on the Commodore 64, the Atari 800, and then they would write a version for the 1000. And I want to share that with you. So let's see. I might have to turn off my, oops. Oh, shoot. I lost my, um, I think I have to turn off my background here.
Well, it's a turkey.
It's a turkey, isn't it? You see
Yeah,
this? I mean,
I do. I
okay,
do.
good, good. Are you seeing this stuff?
Uh, it's as colorful as it can actually be,
As
so,
colorful as possible
Yeah.
um, on a 1000. And let me just show you what happens when let me break this and run it. And you can see this is probably, you know, real-time speed. So I started running this program like, what is going on here? Because it's A, slow. And then B, it's like, why the left parentheses? Because I didn't really pay too close attention to what I was typing in. I just was, following right along.
Oh, you had to type this in that wasn't archived already?
This was not, yes, right, correct. I had to type it in.
Oh my gosh, David.
As I'm typing in, I was like, oh, the little pluses. I bet those are going to make feet. You'll see that in a minute. So I'm like, oh, okay. But, at this point, I'm starting to wonder, what is it drawing? It's just like, because I was expecting sort of sideways view of a turkey, right? Like, we drew as kids
Oh,
with our
sure.
hand and, outlining them as feathers and whatnot. And so I'm like, huh, what is this thing? Is this what it's supposed to be doing? It looks like maybe it's a pumpkin. Nope, nope, this is the turkey. And the dots did not help me one iota. This little step here, I was like, still not solving the mystery for me. Mm. It does load faster, by the way, than if it were a real 1000, but it still moves as fast as a real 1000.
Oh, you're talking about because it loads from tap.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm running
Yeah.
it in 81, the emulator,
Yeah.
which is really, really nice
Yeah.
emulator for the 81 slash
What is this
1000.
program called, by the way?
Oh, it's called 81. Literally the
No, no,
oh
I mean the turkey program.
I don't know. I think it was just well,
Turkey?
in family computing they didn't really name it, but I called it Turkey when I saved it.
Oh,
And then
still
it
doesn't look
saved.
like a turkey, but
Still does not look like a turkey.
what
Right,
is going on
exactly.
here?
This is
It ends
not
up like
helpful.
a turkey.
Right.
Well, the cool
And
cool part about this is you can start the program and the turkey at the same time, and they'll be done about the same time.
that's right. That's right. Well, it's like the shit. There we go. And then oh,
Okay.
that's it. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
you should rename it Turkey Timer.
Turkey what? Timer, right. Yeah. It needs a little doodad that pops out at the end, just like on the real turkey, the thing that tells you that it's
Oh,
Yeah, I think yeah, it might need a little more context.
yeah, right. Just another minute or two. All right, so there's our seasonally appropriate program. And in the article it says, you can put this on to entertain your guests on your computer. I'm not sure how
it's
much.
entertaining us now, so
It's right.
it wasn't wrong.
Right. It entertained you for minutes at a time, right? Okay.
So I have a
That's-
question. I am
Go
so
ahead.
this was published in what year?
Oh, okay, good question.
Like
Let
probably
me,
83 or something?
I think so. Yeah, because family computing was, yes.
Because they actually didn't go out of business, but they changed their name to something else shortly after like 83 or 84, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like family and business computing or something.
let's see, family computing. Okay. And then, um, Turkey. There we go. Let's see.
You can also speed up 81 if you want to make it go faster, but
I
if you
could
want
do
the
that, but why would I
full
want to do that, Joe?
experience, exactly. If you
It's
want the full experience,
you want the right, right. So,
He's trying to entertain the guests. That's us today.
Adam,
The meeting would only be 5 minutes long if he sped it up.
no, November of 1983. Of course,
November of
November.
83. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, so anyway, there you go. There's your
Well, thank you for
not
typing that in.
a moment of Zen, but a moment of something.
Yeah. You typed in the C64 and Atari versions too, right? To show us
I
the
did
color.
not. I did not.
Oh man.
I
I'm
don't have a
brokenhearted.
64. I mean, I have an Atari, but I don't have a 64.
Well, you
No,
have
what?
emulators.
But the 2068, the 2068 could do it in color.
It could,
I've
yeah.
never
As a matter
heard
of
of
fact,
it.
but it wasn't out yet.
it was not
Right.
outright. That was the
Oh,
month
that's
it came out.
true. It's going to
And
be period authentic.
Yeah.
So you had to go get a Spectrum version.
oh, whatever that thing is.
No, the 2068 came out in just November of 83.
Right, but with a lead time, the magazine production,
Oh, well, that's true.
it would
Yeah.
have been, they would probably have been finalizing this stuff in September or August or something like that.
And besides, your 2068 was still wrapped under the tree until Christmas. So.
No,
That's
no, I got it. I got to open it right away.
All right, so I'm gonna
Well, I did look up a program as well, although I
you
haven't
did?
played it yet. But I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
maybe we could play it as a group since it's actually a game.
It's a
Maybe
game.
remember you sent a list about a week and a half ago. You posted it because I asked
That's
about
right.
what programs are available, and so I found a program called Santa's Dilemma, which was published in was it published
It was like in
in
Spectrum
ZX
magazine.
Computing in December 1986. So pretty late. Well, I guess not in the Spectrum world. That's not pretty late.
Yeah.
In fact, that's pretty right on. Um, but it's
No,
also what's weird about it. Is Tim in the meeting? I'm not sure. I don't see
uh,
him, but maybe he is. I found
86,
it.
87 was pretty late.
he-
That
he-
was
Well,
Amstrad time.
it's also available for the QL. You could type in it for the QL, and that seemed unusual to me. But what do I
Yeah.
know? I'm not a
Well,
QL guy.
there were four or five QL owners back then.
Hmm.
But the program is archived on your site, and
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't
that's
played
right.
it. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I thought maybe we could play for high score or something. And you don't even need to have a Spectrum. We can all play it in an emulator or, using a Spectrum ROM. I don't know. We can bring it up or just avoid that topic altogether and just say, I don't know. But we don't have to type it in. That's good.
Okay, so I sent out, such as it is an agenda for this meeting, and we've already covered, the first bullet point,
Yes.
just between the two of us, Adam. And so I'm going to use this next topic to ask two folks to introduce themselves. Um, so uh, one of the things that I am finally starting to work on, and you guys, my love of databases, and in particular, this program called Profile that Tom Woods wrote for both. He wrote it initially for the 1000 little database, freeform database program for the 1000. You weren't required to type in, set up fields. You could type in whatever you wanted in the entire screen. And, if you set up your information in the correct way, you could print out mailing labels. You could, print out sort of reports and stuff from it. You could, do queries and whatnot. And then when the 2068 came out, he made a much improved version called Profile 2068, which um, um, had uh, a lot more features. And then someone in particular uh, was a real heavy user of that in his, day-to-day work, and to such an extent that he learned, part of what Tom's goal was with these programs, with all of his work, was to teach people how to use their computer, right? So the manual for ZX Profile not only told you how to use ZX Profile, but it also gave you the listing and told you, if you want to do this thing, here's, some additional code you can use to do this. And in essence, here's how the program works, right? And the manual for the 2068 version of Profile 20 of 20, yeah, the Profile 2068 manual, even more so. Really long, like 140-ish pages, if I recall correctly. And, about half of that is how to use the program, and then the other half is how to enhance the program. Here's all the things that you could do, to add on to it to make it do cool stuff. And Bob Fisher, who's here with us today, picked up that charge and put out a little zine called Extensions. He did 4 issues of it, I believe, and a bunch of other just sort of by the by documentation of, how to make it do additional things. Like, for instance, um, if you wanted to have a record, a database of people in your profile, you probably would organize it with last name, comma, first, but then this presented a problem for printing because you didn't necessarily want last name, comma, first. You wanted first name, space, last. And so one of the many little bits of code changes that Bob came up with was just about 5 or 6 lines worth of modification to the program that did exactly that thing. So it, reversed the order of those two items. You could do some simple math with a profile. So you could say, give me a sum of all the values that appear across certain records. It would do that. And there was another one called Tally, which did something similar. But anyway, Bob wrote these newsletters. And then, yep, profile was written in largely in BASIC, but the search routine was in machine language. And also, Tom put out his own newsletter initially for just the 1000 version of Profile. And I can't remember how many other issues. There was like 5 or 6 issues of that, full of people writing in saying, I'm doing this thing, how do I get it to print with a, certain kind of Centronics printer interface, etc. Um, so there's this whole body of knowledge around this little tiny program that, around this little tiny computer. It's a whole lot of, sort of extra stuff that's built up. And I was like, I've been thinking, for a long time, it'd be cool to make a little video about that. Tom came to one of our Zoom meetings about 2 or so years ago, and so I'm going to use, bits of that recording. Bob came to one of our Zoom meetings um, about the same time. I'm going to try to use some of the, recordings from that, and then I'm going to meet individually with Bob and, talk to him about his newsletters and all these changes that he made, and um, all these improvements. So one of the cool things that I kind of learned over the past few weeks as I've been sort of digging into this is um, there were additional versions of Profile, and the penultimate one, sort of for people who purchased it directly from Tom Woods, was a cartridge version. So he took his entire program, put it on a cartridge, and Profile, when you ran it in BASIC, gave you 2,700 or 27,000 characters of space for your database, right? 27K out of roughly 38K that was available in BASIC, right? So the program itself uses only about 11K. So the cartridge version, of course, gives you almost all of that entire 38K for your database. Really cool. And what I learned in reading the manual again for that was the vast majority of these things that Bob came up with ended up in that cartridge version. So it wasn't just the original version that Tom wrote. It was, the original version that Tom wrote, plus the, new revisions that Tom came up with, plus, all of this stuff that Bob and one other person had suggested. And then after the cartridge version, there's a sort of ultimate tape version called Profile Plus 5. And that was something that Bob had worked on. Um, cassette version of all this with all of those things added in that, Bob had come up with. And that was sold through one of the retailers, Rod Gowan was the name of the guy who sold that stuff. So anyway, that's what I'm working on among various other projects, but that's the one that I want to try to do over the next couple of months and put up this video. And um, if it doesn't kill me, I will do others about, topics like that related to the 1000 or the 2068. Like, a long, long time ago, Adam asked, well, how do people use their, computers? And, besides gaming, and there were folks who used it for word processing, for databases, for spreadsheets, all the things that people use their other home computer for. And so my goal is to make, these little videos about that sort of thing. Um, so uh, with that, I want to call on Jeff Fenna, who is joining us for the first time in this Zoom meeting.
Well, first time in several years.
Oh, really? Had you? Okay, Jeff, I forgot if you'd actually been,
I was on a couple a long time ago, but
Okay,
it's
you're
been
practically new.
not long before COVID. So yeah.
Um, and Jeff, there's one other person that shows up every once in a while, Tim, from New Zealand. And when Tim joins us, behind him are bookshelves full of drawers of parts, not unlike yourself. So when I saw
Yes,
you back, I was like, oh yeah,
here we have all the projects and the very,
exactly. Right. So
very
I'm not going to ask you what all projects you're working on, but when last we talked at VCF Midwest, you were working on you had two sort of things that you demonstrated. One was a compact flash storage for
Mhm.
the 81/1000, and the other one was this recreation of the Xonex
Oh yes,
sound
the
device, which
sound card.
uses
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the sound card. Thank you. Yeah. So talk to us about both of those things.
So the compact flash adapter was born out of frustration with loading anything into the 81. The only the or the 1000. The only way you could do it is through tape, and it was horrible. And you can't even get if you're writing programs, how do you get the program onto the tape and so forth? So P files are the other. You had the I think you mentioned the tap
Yeah.
the tape, but I use P files, which are just it's the same content as on the tape, but it's just stored binary. And the compact flash is really easy to interface to 8-bit microcontrollers because two things. One, it's essentially an IDE device, so it has all the controller stuff built into it, so it's ready to sit on the bus. And compact flash, unlike IDE drives, has a 8-bit operating mode.
Oh,
So you can set the thing up to talk in 8 bits instead of 16 bits. The compact flash card is just a regular compact flash card with the fat file system on it. And so you download a program, write your program, whatever, you end up with a P file on your computer, stick the compact flash in your adapter, put the P file on the compact flash, pull it out, plug it into this thing, and what I also did was extend it. I also added the full complement of 64K of RAM, minus the ROM and so forth, and then updated the ROM to be the Shoulders of Giants version, and then I scissored in the load and save routines and tacked on a little 1.5K fat file system driver so that load and save actually reads and writes the .p files right off of the compact flash, just as if you were reading from tape. Shoulders of Giants was, if you look at any of the Timex ROMs, there were two versions, I think, that came out from Sinclair. There was one that had some bugs in it, then there was an updated version, and then some folks have done some further updates. The Shoulders of Giants ROM was a version that had more Z80 optimizations in it, as well as different mathematical algorithms for some of the like logarithm or sine and cosine functions and so forth like that. So it was just a souped up version of that. It was easy to find the source code for that, and it seemed like the best incarnation of the ZX ROM. So I
And I
did
think
that.
Shoulder of Giants also got rid of the keywords, right? You can type in print.
Nope, nope,
Nope.
nope. Shoulders. It was completely. It looked like a regular ZX81. It just had it divided.
Oh, 81. Okay, never mind. I'm
Yeah.
thinking Spectrum. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. This is 81 space. So yeah, so that was. And then getting ready for the show, I found out that so my ROM version sits on top of the bus, on top of the internal ROM, which still has to be there because of the character generation for the ZX81. If you're familiar at all how the video works, it needs to look up the bit patterns for all the characters. And it doesn't do that through external ROM unless you do a few more things, which is what I'm tinkering around with now, is how does that work? So I can completely replace the ROM, because I found out that two of the machines that I was going to bring for backup had the old version or a different version of the ROM, which wasn't compatible. And all of a sudden I had just nothing but black vertical lines on the screen. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
what's going on? Did I just zap more ULAs or? So, and it was just it was a ROM incompatibility. So, so I'm tinkering around with that. The Zonix thing was a quick, the Wilf Richter,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with his writings and so forth, he had a simplified circuit. So that's basically just his circuit with some additional, add the speaker and the power module and so forth. But just did that, threw that together for the show. Also wanted to learn KiCad. It was the first time I've used KiCad, and learn some things like hidden power pins on chips are not shown on the schematic. And shame on me, I didn't do my electrical rules check, which my friend was pointing out is right here. You didn't connect them. So, but again, that's why you do stuff. So, and then Jeff, I told you about the engineering emulator for the 2068, and I am working on a engineering emulator. So I fired that thing up, and it doesn't work because it's got bit rot with version updates and whatnot. So of SDL. And so I started working on my ZX81 emulator, chasing down some of these other problems, which is essentially the same architecture. So I've been working behind the scenes to do that. I don't know. Do you want to see that?
Yeah, yeah. You should be able to share your screen.
Yeah. I will show. Let's see. I'll move that. Move you guys out of the way. Okay, one second. I got to give somebody permissions. Thought I had all this set up. All right, I got to go out and come back. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. We'll come back to you. Um, so I see another new name. Um, Jonathan, are you new to us?
Yep. No, I'm new.
Okay. All right. Jonathan,
A little
welcome.
intellect.
The first thing that we ask of anyone is what's your origin story?
So I was born in New Zealand. So I lived in New Zealand. I moved to the US about 15 years ago. But first, when I was about 11 years old, our school got first computer. So it was a ZX81.
Mhm.
And so that was really my first. Before that, I was into electronics, sort of tinkering with, we used to have kit sets that used to buy, make up kit sets, crystal radios and stuff like that. And so I really fell in love with this new computer. And then my parents got me one for Christmas in, I think, 1982. So it was a 16K ZX81 with uh, Flight Simulator was the only game I really had. And so then I really, in New Zealand, there wasn't much really available for, games and stuff like that. So I used to learn how to program and then learn machine code, did a bit of machine code, and
Oh boy.
been a Sinclair fan from there. Went on to
Nice.
the ZX Spectrum and sort of off and on over the years been collecting a lot of Sinclair stuff. When I was in the US, I collected some Timex Sinclair. So, the Timex Sinclair 2068. I think I actually bought a power supply off you, David,
Oh, okay.
a year ago because I couldn't work out the power supply. It was a strange barrel connector. And then lately I've been working on trying to restore some old ZX81 titles or games that are sort of need to preserve them as they're not around.
Right. Right. Cool. Cool. So you said, are you in the US now or are you in New
Yep,
Zealand? Oh,
I'm
okay.
in Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, if you were looking for Sinclair and Timex people, you found the right place. Cool. I'm glad you joined us.
One thing I am looking for is I've got a couple of Timex Sinclair 1500s that I'm
Mhm.
trying to repair. Haven't really found much information on troubleshooting them, but it seems to be the one Timex Sinclair computer that I've purchased a few of them. None of them seem to go. So
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, uh,
Okay.
not sure if it's just something I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Just and then I've also got a Sam Coupe that I'm going to be working on soon.
Oh, wow.
What kind of not doing are they? How are they not going?
Really, just no cursor display. No, I can't really tune them in. So I sort of just wanted some trouble. I, got an electrical engineering background, so I, know a little bit of electronics, but just really knowing where to start schematics and sort of those troubleshooting steps. Looking for clock and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've done that a few on my ZX81. It tends to be more like the ULA seems to be the issue on a lot of those. I've got quite a big collection, maybe I don't know, about 15 ZX81s and lots, quite a collection. A lot of ZX Spectrum, ZX80, a range.
So
Carl?
the 1500 is it's got a ULA like it's a ZX81 with 16K on board and a different ULA, but it's still sensitive. I have one that's smoked, which reminds me, David, you said you had a drawer full of them, so I
I
need to take a picture and
take a
see if
picture of the part number.
but
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and I know that I've seen schematics somewhere,
Mhm.
Jonathan, but there is a video output pin on the ULA, so that's where I would stick an oscilloscope to see if you're getting, sync pulses or any kind
Yep.
of video signal, something like that. The
And
membrane, the membrane, it's got the original Spectrum keyboard, rubberized keyboard with the membrane still goes bad.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Those
replaced quite a
those
few
are
brains over the time.
Yeah.
Hello, Chef. This is Gustavo. I have a question for you. Related to the ROM, you mentioned that you have two different versions for the CX81. The newest release is most close to the 1500 or more close to the 1000 model for Timex?
the newest. I'm sorry. Which one is?
The ROM version that you mentioned that you have a patch or whatever
The
differential
shoulders of giants. Yeah.
are more close to the Timex model TS 1000 or the Timex model 1500?
The 1000. The 1500 has yet another different ROM.
Yep.
Because it supports the 16K onboard, and I believe it has the channel control switch done through a key press at
That's right.
startup.
And it also does a little probe at a certain memory location for a cartridge.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
ROM, yeah, the ROM changes for the 1500 is only for the cartridge. The channel selection, that's all in hardware.
That's in
There's
the
no
assembly.
there's no code, no ROM code for that.
Okay.
That's
Only the initialization C in number one of the second AK of the second chunk.
well, really the 1500 is the same as the 1000 ROM. Like I said, only thing that's different really is the check for the cartridge.
Yeah.
Even the RAM pack, if you put a RAM pack on it, that where it switches the memory around, that's all hardware as well. There's no ROM
But
code for that.
Chef mentioned differentiate in the calculator module.
That's in the. So the person that wrote this Shoulders of Giants ROM used some different numerical methods to do some improvements over the original guys that wrote the 9 Tiles guys that wrote the original math routines. It's the same math routines in the same locations, but coded differently using faster or more efficient algorithms, that sort of thing.
I think that was because they didn't change them going to the Spectrum, and the ones written for the 81 were written for size.
But what's odd is the Shoulders of Giants ends up squeezing. You get more space in the ROM. There's more free space when you do it the way that they did it. So,
yeah.
Oddly, I don't. I think did David just put a
link to the ROM assembly itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth looking at because it's nicely commented. So there's a lot of explanation of what's going on in the comments in the assembly source.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can actually get the binary image from this page as well.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you ready to show us your
Yep.
screen? Okay.
I will show you. So here is can you see that?
Yeah.
So engineering emulator. So if you just want to actually run programs, use something like 81 or something like that. This is intended for people like myself or Jeff that are doing hardware development and you want to get into the specifics and so forth. So I'll load our favorite Tetris game. And one thing you'll notice is right now I'm running some weird coloring on the screen because I'm working on the video stuff and I needed to count pixels.
Okay.
And so it's like green bar paper. So the 0 every 8th line is magenta, and then every other line is shaded. So you can just count pixels. So it basically, and the emulation that I'm doing is actually I'm trying to get at the ULA level. So I'm actually doing the shift register
Oh my gosh.
output and doing the right memory sniffing and so forth to get characters. And it works with the high-res graphics. What I'm working on right now is to try to get the pseudo high-res graphics, which is where you don't modify the hardware at all, and what you replace the video driver routine with some code that points at different ROM tables than the regular characters, and it only scans the first line of the character, and then it repeats that for all 192 lines vertically. And it plays games with the line counter in the ULA with some of the in and out ports. And I'm having a heck of a time trying to figure out how the ULA works, because all the ULA emulators that I've seen don't work with this. It's the program that was done was called Rock Crush. It's the pseudo high-res graphics, but anyway, so here's Tetris, and then so for Jeff, this is some of the stuff that's engineering. So if I click the mouse, I actually hit a breakpoint, which takes a little here to show up. So now I'm at a breakpoint with the virtual Z80, and you've got all the registers there, and you can single step and so forth. You can do memory dumps, and then you can do here's the dump of the display file with some translation to ASCII, so that you can see what's going on. If you forget what it is, there's a help command with the question mark. Oh, and then the system variables. So these are all the system variables that are in that chunk of memory space. This is all pulled live out of the virtual memory. Right now, the CPU is paused sitting at a breakpoint, and then we can run again and that kind of thing. So on the 2068 version, there's a lot more, because it handles all the bank switching, and also shows all the variables, and handles the border drawing and several other things. Dave and I were working on years ago, trying to tinker around with the Spectrum Interface 1, and what would that sort of look like, hooking into the ROM without modifying the ROM like I did for the compact flash thing, but rather hooking into like syntax errors and the restart handler, and jamming in some additional code to get access to some of the extra keys, like all the file system, the cat, and so forth. And to do all that, it was easier if I just wrote an emulator and then wrote the code in that emulator. So
I should point out that when you say we were working on it, you were doing all the work. I was just talking.
Well, it was, but no, that's not true, because you had dug up a whole bunch of documentation, like the people that figured out how to get the how do you capture intercept the ROM stuff. There was there's some signals with the bank enable and all that kind of stuff that was really tricky to get working. But
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm mostly a software guy. I do some hardware. And that I did not write the Z8. That's another Z80 emulator library that I found, but I wrote everything else that you saw there. So
very cool.
Well, that would be killer for doing demo scene or hardcore programming, though.
Oh yeah. It's definitely for that, right? It's to get into the bowels of it, especially with the breakpoints and so forth. You can it should have a better user interface, so that you could, like the 2068 version I have, there's a breakpoint file, so you can put the breakpoints whenever you set them. When it starts up, it loads the breakpoint file, and it'll also do a trace. So if you want to see, well, what was it doing when this happened, you turn on the trace, and it dumps out all the instructions that it executed to a really huge file. But it's kind of cool.
Very, very cool.
But yeah, if I can get the ULA figured out, then I will have a different solution for my ROM and for video. What is that, Jeff?
Oh, that's the
book. Oh yeah, you got the book. Good. Yeah. Unfortunately, that partially helped me, but the Spectrum ULA is different, because like the 2068 and the Spectrum, it directly generates the video through the ULA. It doesn't go through the like the ZX81 executes the display file and jams no ops in, but clocks out the display file bytes using the Z80 execution mechanism. So
I've got to look into this and remember who I bought it from, but someone in New Zealand is selling a CPLD version of the ZX81 ULA.
yep.
So he must have enough knowledge of what's going on in there to write the HDLs, and I don't know if that would help you or not.
Is it the VH
The VLA 81.
VLA 81?
Yeah, Charlie Ingley? Is that
Yeah, I think so.
okay? I think so too.
But
Yeah.
I think there's a book. It's not a book. There's articles that people have put together that basically explain. They break down how the ULA works in the 81
Yep.
with all the logic diagrams and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, there was one. The guy was
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
The membranes and so forth that like 3 tables over from us at the show. So I grabbed
yeah,
it.
American Retro. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
selling them here in the country. But
Yeah, it's like $40. So
yeah,
and I have not put this
So
in.
let me get it clear. That's a recreation? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
right.
This is a modern ULA replacement. It uses
Okay.
FPGA.
Hey, Jeff, hold it up for a second because I'm spotlighting you again, so we can. There you go. And I'm not going to ask you to bust it open, but inside is a little 40 pin package that has a CPLD or FPGA?
FPGA on this one.
FPGA. Okay. That
Yeah. And the appropriate.
Yeah, it's got a dip switch on it too that you can select options. You
Oh,
can see
really?
the dip switch
Oh,
over there
okay.
on the right. Yeah,
Oh, that's a
you
different.
can make
Okay, I see. Yeah, all right.
because you can make the video inverse. You can I think do something with the RAM, maybe 32K of RAM directly. It'll control it. Some other cool things and he actually sells a little thing that you can put that dip switch to go outside of the case, right?
Oh,
Like
wow.
double sticky tape it so you can access the options from outside.
Okay.
But Charles did all the ULAs. He's got the ULA for the Spectrum. He's got the ULA for the Interface 1. He's got the ULA for the Spectrum 128.
What about a 1500? Has he got the 1500?
No, that's the problem with that. He's the Sinclair guy, so nobody's making, that would be a good thing to try to do if somebody could get, reverse engineer ours, right? The SLDs that are in the 1500 and because I mean the 1500 is practically the same, right? But it does have a few added features. Like I said, it does have the RAM. There's no RAM chip select. I mean there is, but it that's how it moves the RAM around. It's called RAM RM, I think. So there's not in the ZX81 there's a RAM chip select, right, that comes out to the expansion bus and it disables the internal RAM. But on the 1500, it actually just goes into the SCLD, and the SCLD moves the internal RAM into the upper address space, and then it lets the RAM pack run in the 4000 to 8000 space, right? So, but that's obviously logic that's inside that SCLD uniquely, right? And same thing with the channel selection. It kind of looks and sees if you're pushing, I think, the 3 button when it powers up, and if you are, I think it toggles the channel thing so that it'll put out the video out on a different channel. Like I said, there's no ROM code for that. The only ROM code again is just the
because it's scanning the keyboard, so it knows
right,
it's pressing the
right.
key and it knows if it's powering up. So
yeah.
But
or if we could get somebody that worked at NCR at that particular thing, and hey man, slide us those schematics for those.
yeah.
So
I haven't tried this in a actual machine to see if it plays Rock Crush, which is the pseudo high res thing. If it does, then he's got the logic right in here. But the other ones that I've seen 2 or 3 folks that have done analysis of it, and then there's like a a TTL only version that largely originates from the ZX80 kind of thing. And I think somebody was it?
You have the Brazilian machine that is in TTL also.
Yeah. So, and Andy Ray is the name that I'm thinking of that did one of the first, like a
Reverse engineer, yeah.
logic of discrete logic version of the ULA.
Mm-hmm.
But his is wrong, because basically what it is the thing that the pseudo high res thing does is it does a vertical sync pulse at the end of every scan line, which causes the scan line counter in the ULA to go back to 0. Well, but it does that without generating a vertical sync pulse, because that would screw up the timing on the TV. And so all the stuff that I've seen has that stuff coupled together, and it's really not somehow.
I have a quick question about those pseudo high res programs. Are those the ones that don't take up the whole screen?
Nope, it takes up
It can take up the whole screen.
Full screen, because it runs its normal video. All the video mode is always the same. It's always 256 by 192. The true high res graphics, which I enabled in my compact flash thing, basically replaces the whole display driver, and it gives you a 6K display file that's bit accessible. So you have full control of every pixel in the display.
So we had a guest on here talking about he has a book, and it only works on a 1K spectrum, or 81s.
81, yeah.
And it says it has the high res mode, it's pseudo, but it only like takes up 1/3 of the screen, the top of it or something. Remember that?
Yeah, I think
there is. So Wilf
1K.
Wilf Richter did a internal small with the 1K RAM true high res graphics, and it works with an unmodified machine because of the way where the internal RAM chip is located with regard to the isolation resistors, and without getting in too much detail there. But basically, it does the same. It can work the same way as the modified RAM pack, the 16K RAM pack, and so it does a very small, like postage stamp size, a smaller portion, but you have full access to all the bits there. So it might have been something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right then.
A pseudo high res, just basically, it's kind of like user defined characters, but you don't get to define them however you want. You just got to pick something that's in the ROM. So they pick these patterns in the ROM that look random enough for games, and then remap the character tables. So instead of the A, B, C, D, and so forth, you get squiggle or blah, 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 and that sort of thing. And then they play games so that it's not all garbage. It's a repeatable, just the first scan line, so it can be, you have some control over it. So,
are you saying that you can't get Rock Crush to work on certain emulators, or?
I can't get Rock Rush to work on my emulator.
Oh, okay.
And the reason, so I could get Rock Rush to work because I could figure out what it's doing, and then I could just hack in. And I think that's what a lot of emulators do, is you're using this particular mode, so I know where to look for the display file and I know what to do with it. But I'm trying to actually get at the hardware level and emulate the hardware, so it doesn't matter, who's doing what. It works the right way, kind of thing. Because what I will do then is, once I get that logic right in software, I'll translate that into hardware.
David,
Yeah.
Just only as reference, Joao, I don't know, 1 year ago approximately, they show a schematic of the SCLD from TS 1500. They have the circuit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
From the 1500.
Yes, it's
Okay.
they show this on the web, YouTube. I don't remember. They present a session of the 1500 model. They show the internal SCLD circuit is the NCR schematic. They have, I don't know if it's public or not, but they show us.
You talking about that video series that Joao and I did?
Yes, I don't remember if the number 5 or whatever.
Okay, I'll
If
go
you
back and look.
see
I don't recall
the
that.
video, yeah,
Okay.
they have many information that we need in this continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And I
Very.
know they also did the reverse engineering of the Timex computer 2068, right? Well, I can't remember the guy that did it, but they actually came out with a replacement for the PAL Timex SCLD chip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's an
so,
FPGA.
right,
Yeah.
right. So there's obviously a lot of similarity, I would think, between, the PAL one and ours, because the PAL's was basically, our SCLD was the father to the PAL one, right? They just changed whatever they needed to get the the video's a little different on that SCLD, and the rest of it, like a bank switching and all that stuff is the same, right? So it would probably not be too difficult to use what they did and kind of throw in stuff that we needed for the North American one.
Yeah, the logic is not too complex. It's really easy. Inside the SCLD, you have some ports or latches, and then some clock counters and the clock management to stop the clock of the CPU in case of the collision when you refresh the screen. It's not a complicated circuit. The problem is I never see if, for example, the definition of the port FD or FE have internal any logic inside the FPGA or the CPLD or whatever, because are documented on the technical manual, but I don't know if internal of the Timex Sinclair 2068 has any action. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeff, thank you. I just want to check to see if anybody else has any projects that they're working on that they want to talk about before I ask Carl.
Well, if if Jeff is finished, I have a question for him then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't really use the or I'm sure that there must be a ZX81 emulator for that works in MAME. Am I correct? Has anyone used it
In
That works.
Maine?
in MAME?
I don't know.
Because MAME has like I've used it for many emulators before, and built into MAME, like you can usually check out like what's going on with the RAM and all that while it's running,
I
similar to
think
what you
it.
were showing us.
I think. I think it has Cesarix. I think.
I
Or that may be a RetroPie thing.
I was just
yeah.
wondering if anyone has used it and tried doing anything like Jeff has done in it, or if it even would work. Because on the Astrocade, I mean, I hate to bring up the Astrocade again, but that's when I'm looking behind the scenes, I use MAME because that's the only emulator for the Astrocade, and you can do much of what Jeff is talking about. Not to the hardware level, but you can see a lot of what's going on. But anyway, I was just putting that out there in case
And
anyone
I
knew.
thought
But
Pharaoh's emulator also does some of that stuff. I know you can pull like the CPU registers, and I think 81 is his emulator, right? But I know
Mm-hmm.
it's got like
Mm-hmm.
extra things you can turn on, and I think you can watch it do, the
Yeah,
registers.
81 shows you the shift register,
Right,
the sync pulses. It shows you a lot of stuff about video.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
Sorry, no. The question to Chef is the module of the C80 emulation inside your emulator. Support the undocumented function or just only the documented C80?
No, this supposedly the guy that wrote this supposedly covers the undocumented ones as well. Yeah.
Okay, you run a test as CX test or whatever.
I didn't. I'm going by the documentation from the provider or the guy that wrote it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to write, the Z80 emulator, but it's getting a little bit too a little bit too much in the weeds, not exactly, writing the emulator for the machine was interesting, and how does all that stuff work, and how does all the hardware parts work together. That was fun. And then and SDL, by the way, so all the graphics was done with something called SDL, Simple Direct Media Library. It's a cross-platform thing, super nice, real easy to get stuff like that on the screen without having to go through all the Windows development or the Mac development or that kind of stuff. So it was pretty easy to do. But yeah, writing the Z80 emulator was like not as interesting of a challenge. So I just swiped one.
Mhm.
Swipe two, actually. That's the second. This I like this. This one's a little bit better. It has better treatment of the refresh register and the T states and how the T states count. So.
Is it basically at the instruction set level, or is it at the clock level?
It's executing at the instruction, but it will
counting T states.
It counts T states by instruction. Yeah.
Why? I'm just curious. Why is that important? I mean, I have a rough idea, but
The refresh register is used as part of the to pull the graphics out to
the high res part of it. Yeah.
The video.
okay.
Because they used the ULA in the ZX81 is actually pretty small. It's actually pretty slim. It's just collecting a bunch of TTL chips together to get that logic in there. The bulk of the timing and the video generation, a lot of that falls onto the CPU, which is why the thing is so slow, because it's 80% of the time it's drawing the display. It's executing all the pixels that are on, or all the characters on the display are actually no ops that are being executed by the CPU. And it's just processing time that's thrown away, which is why the 2068 and the Spectrum are so much faster, because they don't have to do that. It happens in parallel.
Like a classic time sharing system.
Exactly. Well, they did add the fast and slow in the ZX81, right? So you can just say, well, I don't want to do any video. So just run in fast mode.
And there was something that you could, if you had two ZX81s, there was a thing that was you could buy in the back of like Sync magazine, and then I think Wilf actually did a experimental project, but you had one machine running in fast mode that was actually running your code, and it was like piggybacked over to the second machine, which was running in slow mode, that was just generating the display. And I think it was basically doing a DMA kind of copy of the display file across this thing every whatever some period of time or whatnot. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, there was not a lot of information about that device, and I think he went through like 4 iterations of, his trying to refigure it out. That's kind of interesting.
Speaking of, do you have on your site, Dave? I can't remember looking around. Do you have Wilf's stuff archived?
I have a link to the archive on archive.org.
Okay. Okay, so, I didn't know if it was still there or not, but all this I just downloaded it because it's so hard to find.
Well, it's gone. The original site's gone. He passed away a couple of years ago, and so the original site went away. But there's a copy. Unfortunately, he drew ASCII schematics, right? And the copy on archive.org is full of wackadoodle characters where there would have been spaces.
Yeah.
Actually, bundled with 81 is a several Wilf documents that are in ASCII.
Oh, really?
With the ASCII fixed.
And that's part of the 81 package?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's if you launch it and then go to help, or there's some info, there's some docs available, and that include some stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know on the Wayback Machine too, you can go to his site
Yep.
But I think you're still right. Some of the stuff he has actually like drawn out, if I remember right. And there's some articles that he mentions that I don't even know where they are. He talks about these articles and they're not in that compendium of articles that he has up on his site, so I don't know where they went or if he never got around to it or whatever, but
he's got a design for something called a ZX97, I think it is,
Mhm.
which was like an improved thing. And I Googled around, and there are some folks that have done board layouts and KiCad schematics. So translated the ASCII version of the schematic into an actual KiCad kind of schematic. So some folks, have, like me with the Zonix 81, I translated all that into real world stuff. So things are out there if you're interested.
the other thing that kind of just it pings something in my mind is, I know David was kind of looking at some of the code for it. I mean, I think everybody here kind of knows what the ZX Westby is. And I'm not sure what they wrote that code in. I think it's C.
Yeah.
Am I okay? And so I'm not really a big C programmer, but somebody had mentioned that that thing was designed by the ZX team over in Britain, and of course they're making it for the British ZX81, which runs at 50 hertz, right? So when you put it in our machines over here, you have to make it run at 50 hertz, right? You got to take the resistor out to make it clock down to 50 hertz, and then it'll work. Otherwise, it's all out of sync. Like I kind of had that problem with my 1068 that I'm making because I had it in 60 hertz mode, and I could see some stuff displayed on it on the VGA that was putting out, but it was all out of sync. And then that's when I kind of realized, oh well, it's designed for 50 hertz. But I don't know enough to get into the code of that thing because it's all open source pretty much, right? As far as
Yeah.
I know. And and I know the lore of like SD card storage and stuff like that, like the div MMC and all that stuff on the ZX Expand, for the 81. But the Westby is kind of nice because it stores it in its own memory, and you upload programs to it through the web interface, right, through a file server. So you don't even have to deal with uh, storing it on a card. It just stores it in the Westby's memory. You got things like 1 meg of memory in there, so it's quite a bit for program storage. But I just kind of wanted to put the bug out there. Maybe somebody could kind of look at that code a little bit because I don't really think they're doing too much more with it. I can't remember the guy that developed that, but anyway, somebody was mentioning that it would be nice to have that in 60 hertz. I don't know that really what difference it would make.
It's
In
for
the car?
it's for an 81 or for
Right, for the 81, right.
Yeah. So the guys in England had it easier or had it better because if you run it in PAL mode, which is PAL is actually the color encoding, but if you run it in 50 hertz mode, it runs faster because there are more blank lines on the display, so you get
Right.
more compute time.
Right.
So everybody in the U.S. pays a performance penalty to get because of the higher refresh rate.
Or another way to put it is the margins on the 60 hertz are less, and then it's during the margin where the processing happens.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Car question.
Mhm.
Could be your monitor that not sync as 50 hertz, because in Argentina we use 50 hertz, and all VGA monitor here are sync on 50 or 60 hertz without problem. Maybe
Well, the thing
your
is
monitor is not sync.
no, what it is the Westby actually looks at the video output and recreates it internally on the SP32.
Yeah, and
Right. So that's the problem. If your machine's running at 60 hertz, the Westby's expecting 50 hertz video. So it's generating video output with garbage kind of input. I mean, it's close, it's not that far off, but I'm sure it's probably just like a timer or something in their code that
So it's on the input side where it's because the VGA has its own. It's not 50 or 60. I mean, it is 60.
right.
And regardless of, but in the active display file is 256 by 192, whether you're in
Right.
UK or US, right? So all
Right.
you can do is capture that. What you're saying is is having a hard time decoding the sync pulses and knowing where to sample to get
Right.
it.
I mean, like I said, it's a real easy thing to just switch it to 50, right? I mean, it's you just unsolder one leg or cut a leg off of that thing and you're running at 50 hertz and then the Westby works fine. But, for some people that may want to put the Westby in their US machines, they might not necessarily want to, mod it like that, right? So if we could have code that would work at 60 hertz, right, and do everything that the Westby's already doing, then that would just, be convenience, right? Because then you can just program the ESP32 for 60 hertz or 50 hertz, or hell, you could even write some extra code that would look at one IO pin, So if you have the channel switch, because somebody had made a Westby like a nano, is kind of what I just made a project of it, but they have like audio going into it or creating audio or something, and then they actually have the channel select switch goes into it. So, but I don't see any software that relates to those mods, right? The original software that he came up with doesn't do anything with that. And I guess it could even reset the 1000 or the ZX81. It had a reset output that went to a transistor and would, basically reset the Timex machine because the ESP32 is running on its own.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't really care if you reset the 1000, but it could reset the 1000 for whatever reason they are thinking about there. But like I said, I just don't know the code enough. I can't really, I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out eventually, but that's a whole nother fork that I don't want to go down right now.
Yeah.
And if so,
If only,
somebody's
if only, if only we had if only we had a C programmer that did a tinkering around with ESP32 or something.
there you go, man.
Not that I have one sitting right next to me.
Right. So I
Yeah,
was just kind of
those
throwing
things are
that
great.
out. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just kind of throwing that out to somebody knows the code. They might just take a look at it. I'm sure it's not super complex, right?
Well,
It
let
can't
me
be
let
that
me
bad.
let me share for a real quick
Oh,
second
okay.
here.
Okay.
So here is the code in question. This is the video signal generation portion of the Westby code, and I guess it's doing some kind of samples. So my suspicion is that this is probably the thing to change. However, what that magic number is, it's 625,000 for 50 hertz. What that magic number is for 60 hertz is beyond me. So
Yeah, I wonder where they're getting six. That number sounds a little familiar, but I think PAL's what? How many lines is PAL?
625. No, 525.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So
The
maybe
NTSC is 525.
Yeah,
So PAL's
PAL is
620.
like 625. Yeah.
Yeah.
so maybe
Okay.
that's what they're using there because that's the
Maybe.
PAL. I mean, it's 65,000, 625,000, but maybe if we put it to 525,000 times 32, but anyway, you see what I'm saying? It's pretty
Exactly.
well
I see
commented
exactly what you're
code.
saying.
Right, right. The code's pretty commented, but I just I don't have time to go and learn all that stuff right now. And I'm sure some of you guys know that stuff like the back of your hand. So, I mean, of course, you don't know the code, but you can look at it and understand it much quicker than somebody like me would. I'd have to take a little time to get there. But
Yeah, understanding code like that is about like you turning around and understanding and explaining what that middle resistor underneath that chip is for.
Yeah.
It's like the back of
C's
your hand, right?
Right, right. So I mean, plus, we could maybe add some functionality to the Westby, like I said. So, like I said, they had the reset coming out of it. They had the audio output coming out of it. They had, like I said, the channel switch. So maybe that was how they were picking 50, 60 hertz, right? So it was just an IO input and they were looking at that. And then, if you're on channel two, it's 50 hertz. If you're on channel three, it's 60 hertz, right? It's just we could add some more functionality to it since the code is open source, right? And I think that
Yeah,
was
it'd be
his
nice
intention.
be nice if it was like auto detecting, right? It's because there's
Mhm.
two flavors of it, right? And it's either one or the other. So
Right, right. And
like
that would just be extra code.
after a couple of frames, you would have been able to sample enough signals to know what the frequency is, and then
Exactly.
set the value.
I totally get you. Yeah. So it could be automatic, right? Like you said. So it would just we somebody would just have to write that code to do that. Right. That's the thing. And so I just kind of was thinking, well, maybe some of you guys are well versed enough in that. You might want to, in whatever spare time you might have, take a look at that and see what's going on in that thing, because it's pretty powerful. That's a pretty nice thing to be able to just connect to a file server and load your P files into the 81, and have them on the machine all the time. Even when you power it off, right? It's that memory is persistent in the ESP32, so it doesn't go away. It's always in there. So you could load up a crap ton of programs in there and not even have to worry about like an SD card, right?
But where do you stop, right? Because it's a dual core 32-bit processor. I mean, you could basically just download the ROM from the ZX81, then like hold the bus off and just do everything in the ESP, right? I mean,
you're right. The ESP32 could run the whole. Yeah, you could probably have two or three.
You could run a fleet of them, right?
Right.
It could do
Jeff,
that and then mine Bitcoin on the side too.
Right.
to your point, Jeff, there's a Spectrum emulator that runs on the ESP32, the ESP Spectrum, I think it's called. And you just the circuit boards that come with, that are made for it are just, here's a keyboard with micro switches.
Yeah.
And
I mean, part of that. So that is I do tinker around with the ESP is the other thing I'm tinkering around with, and that's driving that little board I was showing you is I've got it hooked up to drive a VGA monitor. I can do 800 by 600 with it'll do up to 16-bit color. But having written an emulator for the ZX81 that I just showed you, well, that code can also run on an ESP32. So there's endless amounts of tinkering that can be done.
Right. Well, like me, it's always nice to have a project to work on when you're doing something like okay, I'm going to use this microcontroller. What am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can just go through the learning process and look at stuff to do with it, but if you actually have an application in mind, it's much better. So I mean, the other thing is, of course, maybe making a ZX Wesp for the 2068, right? Similar kind of thing where you hook up to a file server and you can dump 2068 programs onto it, right? And then, like you said, you can set the goalpost so far down, can't even see them, right? But I mean, I think in the quest of what the original guy was doing with the ZX Wesp, that might be nice to see if we could do something like with the 2068. That way, again, you don't necessarily have something that's really big that needs to, you could probably put this internally, which is of course what the Wesp mostly does. Most of these guys put it inside, right? So it's just you only got to hook up like 4 lines to it, right? They need an ear. It needs to hear, or it needs to be able to spit out to the ear jack, so it can load things, right? It loads these programs.
It doesn't connect to the rear connector to like DMA stuff in.
No, it connects to the ear and it has a fast load.
Yeah.
It emulates. It's a complete emulation of the external environment, untouched.
Right. Right. So it's so you got a P file.
Solder, Carl?
Yeah, ear and video are the two, and then power and ground. That's all you need to hook up to the Wesp. See what I'm saying? Unfortunately, we don't have a ear or video on the output or on the expansion port on the 81, right? Otherwise, you could just hook it up to that if it had that, but unfortunately it doesn't. So you got to go inside.
What's odd is the ear and the video are the same. It's the same pin on the ULA.
Or was it the mic?
I think the ear and the mic. I think ear and mic, or I mean, video and mic are the same, right?
The video, because when you load the cassette, you lost the video.
Because ear is an input, right? So video, when you save, it uses the video line to go to the mic jack.
Okay, so it would be so maybe mic on the, I don't know which. Yeah, the TV and the tape are the same output from the ULA. I think there's a difference on the actual tape recorder jack.
I think you're right. I mean, I know you're right, but it's video and mic.
Okay.
Is what really uses the same.
Yeah,
the ear is a separate input.
Which point of view are you talking? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And so, and that's the other thing the Wesp doesn't do is save. Right. You can't save anything from the ZX81 to the Wesp.
What?
Right. So I mean, there are improvements that could be made to it, right? But I just don't have the, I don't have the code knowledge to dive into that. And with all the other projects I'm messing around with, I just don't really have the time either. But like I said, if somebody's already kind of down that road and wants a project that's already pretty well developed, and they, here's a chance to add some features to it, right? And then again, like I said, for the 2068, it's a little different animal there because the video, you can't just scan the video out. Well, I guess you could, but that one's color, right? So I don't even know if the ESP32 would even be fast enough unless you got a faster one to be able to real time scan the. I don't know that you want, because like Jeff's thing, I think he just, you scan the memory, right, Jeff? And so you're just scanning the video memory, the display memory, and then recreating your own from that. I don't know that the ESP32 is powerful enough to do that. It might be, I'm not saying it isn't,
Yeah,
but
there's RGB outputs which would be better.
right.
There's a composite, right? Also on the
Mhm.
2068, David,
Mhm.
but that's color. But you don't want to go there because now you need the color burst 3.5 megahertz color burst signal, and then you got a whole bunch of and now you're digitizing color video. I'm like, no, don't go there.
Yeah, I think it would be easier, like what Jeff does, is just to scan them video memory,
Yeah.
Have it. But now you're hooking up all the data bus.
Hang it off the expansion connector and scan the RGB outputs. You just have.
Well, I think actually what Jeff does is not scan the memory, right? He watches for the video rights. Is that correct?
Yeah, I basically hang on the bus and intercept those writes and write it to local memory.
So, I mean, if the thing with the ESP32 is you're a little limited in your IO lines, right? I mean, you don't have because I mean, if you need the full address bus, that's 16 lines right there.
Mhm.
And then you need the data lines, there's another 8 more, right? And I think you're pretty much going to be at the limit of at least most of the ESP32s that I see. I don't think they have that many, So, I mean, if we could simplify it somehow, like you said, scanning the RGB and then recreating digitized video from that, I don't know. But then we don't have intensity, right? Because the intensity doesn't come out.
Yep.
On the 2068, they didn't do that. See, that's the other thing that they did on the PAL version. They did have an intensity output on the SCLD, which we don't have, right? So you'd have to either look at the YUV signal, which does have intensity, or if you wanted to simplify it, but that, I don't know how scanning YUV would even work in the ESP32, because that's really analog stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know it has D to A or A to D converters, but wow, that's
not that fast. No.
yeah, it's something to wrap your head around. But I don't think that would really work. So, but the other part of it, at least, like I said, we're being able to store files and dump stuff onto it from a web server is nice. That way you don't have to deal with SD cards and stuff like that. And then, of course, they make bigger memory size ESP32s. I think they're up to 30 or 16 meg ones. So, but anyway, I mean, that's just pie in the sky stuff for the 2068. Obviously, it already works for the 1000. So if we obviously be a jumping off point to maybe get that working on 60 hertz and then maybe making capability to save to it, save your programs into the built-in USB memory.
So let me introduce another wrinkle for you, Carl. The Z-Expand, right? Which is a doodad you plug on the back of your 81/1000, and it's got an SD card. It has a space for an AY3 8910 chip, other stuff. High-res graphics, supports the high-res graphics, the pseudo high-res, the user-defined characters. Did I mention the joystick port? Serial I/O and a
He's
couple
got
other
a parallel
things.
port too, right?
I'm sorry.
Is that a parallel port too, or?
Um,
I don't think it has a parallel port.
I don't recall. So
Got
No
the file
audio.
manager software.
serial
Yeah.
port.
Got
Um,
nice file manager software too that
File
I have
manager
used.
software, exactly. And these things are kind of rare as hen's teeth. They're only show up when I forgot who designed it. When he gets around to make them, and it's like uh, I don't know if there's a
Early
CPLD
ROM
on it.
something.
There's an older microchip, the the brand processor. Anyway, if you go to the Sinclair ZX World forums ever. Oh, Charles, thank you, Mike. Um, if you go to the ZX World, the Sinclair ZX World forums, um, someone has decided to do an open source version of this, and so I'm going to drop this in the chat, and I'm going to share my screen called the OpenSpan. And
So
uh,
that's what that Z expand is what I wanted, but I was too cheap to spend like $200 to get one, so that's why I
there
designed the
you
compact.
go. Right. And so this version, I'm gonna point out that Jeff will recognize some of the components in this. It uses a Raspberry Pi 2350. This is the XL stamp, which comes from this company in Sweden, if I recall correctly. Uh, but that purple thing is a stereo output. That little square chip over here on the left is a DAC and a digital to analog converter. Uh, and it's got a little USB SD card slot over here, a little USB over on the lower right. Let me see about going to the. Oh yeah, there's a work in progress. Um, and then here's an earlier version with that. That is
Does it
another
take
version of the 2350 that's available from Pirate something or other. But it doesn't it has this cool little footprint like a almost like an FPGA.
is the USB for a keyboard for a PC keyboard or a USB keyboard?
All right, so let's see here. 56K of RAM, SD card. That but by the way, this has the blessing of the ZXpand guy. So it's going to run the same software.
Hmm.
Um, so that overlay that you were just talking about, Jeff, the cool additions to the ROM. High res, the characters, audio, joystick, serial IO via extension. Um, I'm not sure.
Firmware update
Firmware
you do.
update via USB.
Okay.
But what everybody needs on their 1000 is a battery backed real-time clock. I mean, the only thing that would be better is if it went out and requested the time from NIST, one of the time servers.
But if you could do that, then you'd have a ZX81 network, and then
Yeah.
you'd be the bomb. Or you could
It,
do that. What's the FujiNet thing?
FujiNet, yep, yep. So the guy who's organized working on this 8-page thread on St. Clair's ZX World, and he asked because of the current situation if anybody in the US would be willing to build the hardware, and I stuck my hand up and I said yes, whenever you're ready, I'll do that. So whenever this is ready, you'll be able to get it. And get it will be like you want just the PCB and you do it all yourself. I'll be happy to give you a PCB. If you want the whole damn thing assembled, yeah, we'll figure
Do
it
you know
out.
what the cost is going to be, Dave?
Not a clue yet. Well, okay, so like that Raspberry Pi,
It's probably 50 to 75 bucks at least,
I
just parts.
think. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Like that R Pi, if I recall correctly, was about $8, which is
Yeah, that's
reasonable
true.
for a
That SD module is five or $10, something
oh,
like
the
that.
SD modules are dirt cheap. That's like $1. And the sound card, um the reason I called Jeff out is because um Sound card rather.
They almost pay you to take them.
Yeah. Those modules, I happen to have a drawer full of them, just waiting to be used on a different project. So I'll order another drawer full of them.
I mean, if it's got the Pico, that's a Pi Pico, right?
Yep.
That 2025,
Yeah.
whatever. It's a Pico.
2350, yep.
I mean, that is a huge amount of I/O. So that's an I/O. That whole thing becomes an I/O processor now. So yeah, the networking
Yep.
stuff, because it's got Bluetooth or it's got Wi-Fi on there, or most of
No,
most
not
of the
that
Pis.
one.
Well, if you use a different Pi Pico, you'd have Wi-Fi.
You could get one with it if you wanted, right?
Yeah. If you use the good old regular one, then you get.
Yep.
And then now you're opened up, and it's got a USB port on it, so now you can have your USB keyboard like Tim had at the show, right?
Yep.
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Network
But
files, time.
There you go, man. The gears are going.
yeah. But John, I'm to answer your question.
Once you put a microcontroller on there, you better put everything on there.
I'm thinking a 450 megahertz microcontroller acting as a peripheral for a 3.5 megahertz Z80 system.
Yeah, it's a little insane, isn't it? But
Yeah, just think V'ger from Star Trek.
Exactly. A kindred spirit.
Yeah.
But remember that at the Pico, I need to add wait state to do not explode the TS Pico firmware. In some part of the exchange data, I not run a free run of the C80 part.
Well, that's because it's running Python. This one's bare metal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be a little faster. Moderately faster. Plus it's a 2350, so it's faster. It's just all the jazz.
I'd certainly be interested. I mean, I do have a ZX band, but like I said, I kind of the Westby really grew on me just from the standpoint that I can load files to it from my computer. That's kind of nice. There's nothing else that really can do that, right? So I mean, that I think would be nice to be able to incorporate maybe into like the ZX band, that it has built-in memory, right? And you can just store your programs on there. Why do we need an SD card? Unless you really want to, make it portable, right? Or, you could still have the SD card, I guess, but you could still have one, built-in memory that the program's stored on, right?
Yeah.
If you really wanted
Carl,
it,
And then if you have
Carl, you
network
need a place
connectivity,
for
that's
those.
how you get stuff into it, right?
what's that?
If you had network connectivity, you could get stuff from wherever.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what the Westby you do. You have the file server, and you just, so you don't really need an SD card. I mean, but what you're saying, Jeff, we need to for all those.
Well, all those megabytes of ZX81 code that's out there. I mean,
Right. I mean, you cannot get an SD card small enough.
All of it might fit into one SD card. So
Yeah. So that's what I mean. You put a 4 meg chip on board, right? A flash chip on board, and just you like Bill Gates said, you'll never need more than 4 megabytes of RAM on your ZX81.
Well, to your point, when somebody orders a TS Pico, I have these, and I have to go like digging to get them. 256 megabyte, little tiny SD cards, right? And I put every program that is been archived within reason, but essentially everything that's that anybody would want to use is on that SD card, and it's not remotely full.
Right. The problem we get with that is the file system that you have to be able to get to all those content.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to have directories that are 3 and 4 pages long. So I try to limit it to 20 files per folder or something, and so I end up with this depth of folders that can be a little obnoxious. But yeah, I mean, I have to go digging in order to find cards that small. It's
Yeah, they don't make them anymore. So yeah,
might as well just supply the smallest gig card, and it's like, here you go, put the internet on this.
Or like I said,
2068.
Or like I said, just build memory into it
Mm,
and don't even worry about the SD card because
mhm.
since you can't get small enough ones, you can certainly get the smaller RAM chips, right? And even if you had to get a 4 MB one and you're still only using 1 megabit or 1 MB of it, who cares, right?
Well,
Those chips
surprisingly,
are
those
dirt
things
cheap.
are not cheap for some reason right now. RAM, those any kind of RAM chips are more expensive than the SD card.
Well, plus you could do a
Bizarre.
serial one. I think the
Serial
serial
RAM. Yeah, that's
flash
a good
chips
point.
are really cheap, right?
Those are, yeah.
So I mean, get a 1 meg or a 4 meg serial flash chip, and it's for one thing, it's small because it's only going to be like what 8 pins, right?
Hmm.
Those things are generally only
Yeah.
like 8 pins, right? And so,
True.
and then you don't really need the SD card. You see what I'm saying? Unless you,
Well,
why
you
would you
need
need to?
a way to get the stuff onto, and if you don't have the TS Pico uses a non-Wi-Fi Pico chip. So
Well, that's what I mean. You would have to look at how Westby is doing, the ZX
yeah,
Westby, how they run the file server and be able to,
port that.
Well,
because
the connectivity. You'd have to switch to the Pi Pico that had
The
the
Wi-Fi.
Bluetooth or
right,
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
right. But I mean, like I said, the ESP32 already has, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built into it as well. So, I mean, they're using the Pico, which is fine, but I mean, this Westby uses the ESP32 and it's doing it now. So, I mean, it can be done, right? Because
Yep.
somebody already is doing it. So we
Well,
just need to look at the code and maybe be able to transfer that over to this OpenSpan,
yeah.
right? And add it as a feature where, hey, we throw 4 MB of serial IO on there, right? The code to be able to store stuff into it from a file server on the network, and then you don't need an SD card. The only thing I can see an SD card for is like firmware updates, but like you said, he has a USB port for firmware updates. So I mean, you don't absolutely need a SD. And like I said, you could still put the SD card there, right? Like you said, the reader for it is a couple of bucks, and it's just a couple of IO ports, right? Or so you still could have the SD card there if you really wanted to. It's just I think it would be nice to be able to have it on the board itself. That way you don't have to have an SD card, right? Besides, like David's saying, they're harder to get the smaller ones like that,
Yep.
and so it's easy to get small serial IO flash chips. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Those are dirt cheap. Yeah.
Well, then you could have like a modem interface to the
Yeah.
thing, and you can just request it through there. But or you could also do the thing where you have like the kids' toys where you have these cards, but all they do is they have an ID on them, and it brings up the program that's already
Mm.
in the memory. If you have
Mhm.
every file in the world in there, you just have these cards and you stick them in, and it calls up the one you want.
They could look like little cassette tape things, right? They could be the shape of a
Yeah.
cassette tape. Like plug the tape in, and all it does is read the RFID code for what program you want to load.
well, I'm just like I said, I'm just kind of fascinated, not fascinated, but they did a really nice thing with the ESP32 and using a
Yeah.
file server and downloading onto the memory from the web, or not the web, but just from your other machine somewhere on your network, on your Wi-Fi network, right?
Yeah.
So that way you don't. It's all self-contained. There's no, like I said, you turn it off, you turn it back on. All your programs are still there.
I will say this, Carl. I live in a um, Wi-Fi rich area. Let's put it that way. The houses where the distance between my house and the next house is the width of my driveway, which is, I don't know, 10 feet or something like that. So, this is an old suburban neighborhood, and all the houses are 10 or 12 feet apart. Um, and so, when I go to enumerate the Wi-Fi networks in my area, it's just flooded, right? And selecting my personal Wi-Fi from that list on the WESP is a challenge. And then typing my password was a bit of a pain in the ass. Because
Are you
you
Yeah,
saying
know,
the
I
CX81
well,
keyboard's a problem?
well, I think the Westby only like enumerates what, like maybe 10
exactly,
of the
exactly. Yes.
strongest ones. Maybe it finds. Yeah,
And dude, I mean, I can pick up Wi-Fi from five houses down. So, a five house radius.
You just need sort of a little bit of an RF umbrella while you try to log in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'll just wrap my house in tinfoil.
either that or put your 1000 with the Westby in it right next to your router.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I
That's a
mean,
that's a good point.
that'll be the strongest signal it'll ever see. So
But I do love it. I have the Westby attached to my 1000, and it's in this cradle case that's really kind of cool. And um at least that made the typing in of the password easier, you know.
right.
But still it was like, too many access points.
Hmm.
You,
Um
you know what's really interesting? If you had an original ZX81 unmodified, without the 16K RAM pack, to load the program it would take exactly one Ethernet packet, and you'd still have like 700 bytes left over. One Ethernet packet is like 1.7K of payload, and you only
okay.
have 1K of memory in the whole freaking.
Right. Right. Well, I think David was probably going to ask me about some project updates here, but because we're getting kind of in
We
here.
are, and I want to jump to this because Adam reminded me that I had one other thing on
Okay.
my agenda, as it were. And that is, I was going through the list of books that have been archived, because I like look on eBay and see does anything show up that I don't have. And I see Stuart has a bunch of books, so I have to reach out directly to Stuart. But um, the first issue of Ramblings, which was the newsletter that Timex put out. If you sent in your little registration card, they would send you Ramblings, and then they would also send you this little ID card. There you go. Hang on, Jeff. Let me spotlight you. Hold that up again, Jeff. Yeah, yeah, right. Exactly. That's a
That's,
reproduction,
that
but yes,
was that
that's
was from you. You gave those out at the show.
yep, yep. That's a reproduction of the original. The original would have um, embossed
I didn't.
numbers in it. But yeah, it makes a cool little ID card. So anyway, the first issue of Ramblings showed up, and that's one that I have not managed to archive yet. The person wants $20 for it. And so I'm thinking, before I spend $20 to buy this one issue, um, I'm going to check with y'all to see if anybody has one sitting around in a folder somewhere in their basement or whatever. Um, I'm going to
Is
make
this like a
a,
4-page issue or something? Is that how long they are?
that
Oh,
might have
someone's holding it
been,
up. It seems like Michael is.
wait, wait, Michael. Hang on, let me find you, Michael. Is that issue one? Show me the lower right corner of the front. Says that's where it'll say it.
You don't have them all memorized, David, just by
Uh,
looking at it briefly.
Well, I
I,
think
I
there's
mean,
only five of them.
vaguely that looks like the one, but I'm
Mine's number 4.
I probably have it somewhere, but I don't know.
I don't
okay.
know. It says copyright 1983.
But look in the
No, it'll.
lower right-hand corner of the front, Mike. What does it say? It should tell you if it's issue one or not.
Oh, number one, volume one, number 5.
Yeah, that's that, right.
Five.
Yeah. Yeah. So number one has
I
an
might have one downstairs
okay.
boxed up.
Because I know somebody
Uh,
was selling all five of them, and they nobody ever bought it. I was thinking about buying it, but I think all five of them they were going to get like $20 for them for all
I
five.
yeah, I think I
But you
might.
don't need.
I
Go
just
ahead.
need one.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. I just have 4 and 5.
but Paul Anderson had a couple books that I hadn't scanned yet. One of which was this book about doing machine language on the 1000/1500, but also
He's
hardware
he's from one
projects.
of the inserts.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
the one with the insert.
Coupons.
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah, and if you look at that insert, this is another interesting thing that's on eBay right now is that the insert for the carrying case?
no, it's the whole list of
Oh, the software form. Okay.
prices on the different software for 2068. Has the coupon in here for printer paper coupon for the 2040 cartridges, 2068, the 1500, the modem, and 2020 or a package deal. You get the 2020, you get the TS 2068 color computer and the 2050 tel modem for $319.90.
I think to answer your question, Adam, I think those were like 8 pages. I think there were two
Oh, okay.
pages that were
Yeah.
folded over and stapled together. So it's like
Okay.
8 pages,
Yeah.
most of them.
And
And
they look like they're two color, like two tone, like red and
yeah,
black.
red, yeah, there's definitely red in there.
Yeah.
And I know
David,
I have,
what was,
oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
what was the hardware projects book you were talking about?
Who, Carl?
You,
Oh,
no, you were, or I thought you were saying,
oh no, no. So, I talked about the OpenSpan, which will come out. Um, no, right now
no, no,
I'm gonna put together a web page that lists all the things that I'm looking for, and I'll send that out to you
Ah,
okay.
guys.
that's a
I
much
thought
good
you were looking
idea.
for a hardware projects
Oh
book.
no, one of our other members, Paul, had sent me this book that is on I don't remember the exact title. It's um programming the Timex. I'll find it. Here we go. What's
Okay,
new?
because I have something called, I think the Explorer. I was looking for it. It's at the down at the house, but it's like the Explorer's Guide to ZX81 or something like that. And I think it has the
Yeah.
hardware
Let me double
information.
check to see if that, let me share my screen. So this is the book that um Paul shared with me. And while it says machine language programming, it's actually, oddly enough, got more content on interfacing, which is kind of cool from my perspective. So if you're, if you're a person that doesn't know much about, interfacing stuff to your 2068, 1500, 1000, this is cool because it, talks to you about buffers and
Well, I do want to say just something, maybe I shouldn't disparage someone, but the author is Joseph Carr, and he has a very poor reputation for his books on the Z80, but I've not read that book, so I do not know. And
That was
yeah,
a
I don't know
that
if
was a that was a good company too. I recognize that bookware company.
that
They
bookware,
sell
yeah,
some
I have
other
a couple
ones.
of those
Yeah.
books too. Not that one, but yeah.
it was
I think
Reston.
Carl, in fact, you scanned one of my books for David that was part of that series.
Yep,
Could be, yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And I'm gonna show you a random thing. Okay, so we've talked in
So
the
that's a book
past.
you're looking for,
No, I
and
have
it's on
that book.
sale on eBay?
That one I have.
Oh, you have.
What sort of prompted this was, that one issue of Ramblings showing up for $20, and I'm like, that's a lot for one issue.
Mhm.
Um, we've talked about the 2020 cassette player and how, it has actually George Grimm from Timex came on and told us the story about how he went down to Radio Shack one day and said, you know, what tape player do you recommend for interfacing, to a home computer? And the guy said this Mini Set 9, and that became the 2020, and that was made by some company in
Probably Sharp or somebody, right?
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Hmm.
Yeah, and it's like Sampo. That's what it was,
Yeah.
Sampo.
I used to
And
have Tempo tape deck.
yeah, and GE, it was had a version made for them, and Sears in Canada had one made for them. And so one day I'm cruising through eBay, and let me turn off my background and stuff so that y'all can actually see this without me fighting the Um, Fighting the system. Okay, cool. Check this out. Okay. This is a Norwood XLP, right? And on the surface, I'm showing you the goddamn computer. Showing you the front here. Looks like one, right? It's got the little circular die indicators on the buttons, right? Look how thick it is. So it has it does normal speed and what it calls long play, which I mean already tape speed is like 1 and 7/8. Normal tape speed is 1 and 7/8 inches per second. You can slow it down even further to 15, 30 seconds. And you can
Is that for
independently
like
record.
interviews? Is that why you'd want to do that?
I'm sorry,
Is that for like interviewing people?
I have no earthly idea. I
That
just was
must
If
like,
you have
be.
a if you
this
have
is
a
crazy. I'm
really
getting
big
this.
if you have a really big profile database, you're going to need one.
Thank you very much. And there's a little switch here for it's got a stereo head, but it's not a stereo deck. You can select which head it records on or
Hmm.
plays back. Absolutely bizarre.
It's got to be for interviewing. It's why else would it do that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a dual speed cassette recorder.
Yeah,
And
because usually when
otherwise,
you, I was gonna say, usually when you slow it down like that, you're gonna lose fidelity. So
oh,
that
you
Oh,
think?
yeah.
interviewing is good because you're just capturing voice. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Yeah,
bandwidth's probably 300 to 400 hertz.
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of recorders back, well, probably older than that one, but it was quite common to have the super slower speed for the on the voice recorders, I think, and then um, and you said the head selection, so I mean that's just for
Yeah,
that's for mono recording. That's what that is.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. So you can.
So you mono on one track and mono on the other, get more on the tape.
I'm surprised it has a stereo head. That's kind of interesting. I think the real 2020 only is the mono head. That they're why have stereo? But
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
got a
well, for the same
true.
reason, well, Ryan just explained it. Like you could use rewind the tape and then use switch the side, switch it, and then you could like continue the interview on the second track,
well, I
basically.
understand for that unit, but I'm saying the
Yeah,
2020 doesn't. So they put a
right.
stereo head in that unit, right,
Yep,
Yeah.
for extra capability.
yep.
But the
It's a
2020, I'm pretty sure, just has a mono head.
yeah, me too.
What is the 2010?
Well, the
Uh,
2010 was a like a Brazilian one or something that wasn't ever
um,
sold here.
yeah, that was Portuguese, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one that they had
Yeah, I've
overseas.
got
Yeah,
well,
the 2020.
they're micro cassette recorders, but they have half speed options on
Yep,
them.
yep.
Well, plus most of the micro cassette recorders were for interviewing or
Hmm.
But
dictation or stuff like
Right.
that.
there were also a lot of the desktop type recorders like that especially if it had
The
inter
old reel to reels had multiple speeds
Oh
like
God,
that.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So like if it had especially if it had a built-in mic,
yeah, yeah.
um,
And
it
to
would have
your
been
point,
made
John.
for both purposes.
To your point, John, and that's why I was kind of joking about the tape speeds is like reel to reel top tape speed for consumer reel to reels was usually about 15 inches per second. When you wanted that super audio hi-fi, but um, even you know even audiophiles considered what was it, the 3 and 5/8 or whatever it was, the
Mhm.
usually the
Three
slowest
and
speed.
three and three
Uh,
I
quarter.
three
I
quarter.
used to
Okay.
use this one
Yeah, the
Jack.
Radio Shack, the CCRs, computer
Yeah.
Right.
cassette recorders. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is probably the only thing about which I will make a collection is the varieties of cassette player that were cousins to the 2020.
Wait, so did you buy that knowing it was an oddity, or when you got it,
Yeah.
you were surprised? Oh, you did.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could tell on the in the auction that it was, you know, from the top. I'll hold it up again because let me turn off the background. I have the 2020 with me right now.
Yeah, it looks almost identical from the front.
Yeah, so here's the Nor Norwood, and here's the Timex, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a little bit physically like taller or something, but the real issue, the real thing is, let me try to do this. Here we go. Is that height difference? You know,
Right.
it's got this this whole extra chunk on the bottom. God,
Looks like it's all on the bottom too.
it
So they
is. Yeah, yeah,
different
exactly.
bottom half case where they expanded.
Put
So did they remove the half speed feature? Is that what?
well,
Maybe
I
have a bigger wheel to keep the speed if you go or not, or is a DC motor there?
it's a DC motor.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll weigh them and see how much different they are. They feel roughly, the 2020 is a little bit lighter, obviously.
I
But
dare
So
you to take them apart.
if you save at slow speed
yeah,
and then switch it to fast speed,
uh-huh.
you
For
could load your programs in like
twice
half the.
as you bet.
Doesn't work that way.
Oh, shoot.
It's like twice the speed.
It's not like dubbing audio, right? Where you could do that's how they sped it up, right? And dubbed it, and then it just slowed it back down. And hey, you dubbed your 90-minute tape in half the time.
Half
It,
the,
it would be
yes.
interesting to see how much different the guts of those two are.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
curious exactly. Is what is accounts for that extra, that's like a good half inch of,
Here's another treading into the video part.
Oh yeah, the Watchman.
Oh, wow.
My
Those
my dad.
displays are all over eBay right now. They're a little bit bigger, the 4-inch ones.
really?
Yeah, those CRTs.
Oh,
They're
wow.
like
Yeah, so
they're like $40 all over eBay.
Huh.
so this one, yeah, my dad had, and I got curious and figured out that you could put the video wire to the antenna and then the other to like a screw to ground it, and then I could display my 81 on.
Ryan, this must have been when you were young and had good vision, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the K cursor on that thing.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It was crisp.
And tiny. Oh my God.
So we've got just a few more minutes left. Is there anything else we need to wrap up with?
Our next meeting is Sunday the 16th. And then Thanksgiving is a week later. Okay. So, if you feel so inclined to perhaps make a color turkey program with which we can entertain our guests, that would be awesome. I would love to see that. Um,
and I just too want to show an update here before we get
okay.
done with this. So most of the parts, I think more are going to come in tomorrow, but I got most of the parts. So this here, I know we're doing the same thing, but this is the interface 0,
Oh, nice.
almost populated. I already found some bugs in my initial PCB layout that I'll have to. Well, I've already fixed it, but I'm not going to order another board until I check this one out. But it's got the Spectrum ROM down here, plus it's got the diagnostic ROM. Come on, there it goes. Well,
Sort of, kind of.
and then this ROM here has the interface one, both versions of the interface one ROM in it. Now I don't have this board set up for this, but the new board that I've already designed will take this flash chip, and you can switch between whatever version of interface one ROM. But this is for the 2068, right? So some people may not know what the interface 0 is. Wes Prozowski or whatever basically did the circuitry for this so that it would run on a 2068. Of course, the software and stuff's not really there to run the micro drives, but this allows you to basically hook an interface one up to a 2068, right? And put it into Spectrum mode and get it to work with this micro drives, which is kind of what my intention is. But eventually, I'd like to get to 2068 to do it. And there's some ROMs, I think Don was talking about it in the thread. Some Series 1 ROMs that they made for the emulator that I think actually fix the code so that the 2068 could talk to this. So basically, it would be fairly difficult to get an interface 1 plugged into a twister board and then plugged into the 2068. And then you have to have the extra circuitry for the interface 0 stuff so that, the IO doesn't crash on each other and stuff like that. So that's what this board is for. It's got a 2068 bus down here, right, which will plug into the back of the real 2068. It's got the twister on the top up here, so it's the Spectrum bus is on the top, and you got to take the interface 1 ULA out and the interface 1 ROM out and put it in here, and then and then I've got a separate daughter board which will go on top of this and plug in, and this is for all the network stuff, right? The RS-232 and the 2 network ports, and of course, I put a reset button on there too. So this is getting close.
Are you going to run that expansion 1 at half speed?
And the other one I kind of did this was after we had talked about, this is the Westby. Of course, the video is just horrible on that, but this is going to replace the modulator, right? Because I got some comments on the other videos that we had that it'd be nice to get too bad to my super expansion thing that I'm coming out with didn't do video, right, to VGA and stuff. So I was like, well, we don't have like I said, we don't have those signals on the bus. So this is just kind of to make it as easy as possible to get an ESP32 into a 1000 or a ZX81. And this is just, you take the modulator out, you put this in its place, and it's got a mini DIN 8 on it, which you can get the connector from Amazon.
Yeah.
And comes out with a VGA already on it and some audio, but I repurposed the audio line to be the composite out. And the ESP is actually on the backside.
Oh, wow.
You'll put the ESP32 right there, and then there's the 4 power, ground, video, and ear, and that's the 4 lines that you need to connect this. So and then where the little jack is, I made this one for the US versions because the one they have online, it's basically for the UK ones, right?
Right.
So the mini DIN would be on the other side. And so that wouldn't really work with our cases. So this one's actually on the right place. And then so it'll, you can stick the mini DIN in where our TV output is on our 1000s.
Very nice.
And that'll let you get the Westby inside there and be all internal with no wire sticking out. And then you'll have VGA video and the Westby, of course.
Is that when you solder the ESP32, you use a hot air gun to do that?
I've done it just with a regular soldering iron. They're big enough, and I'm still good enough that I can get in those with those.
Right,
but
right.
You're right. It would be better to either use solder paste and like a hot plate. The miniware. I have a little miniware hot plate that's perfect for this. So as you can see, or as you might have saw, most of the components are on the top, right, and it's all surface mount. The ESP32 is actually on the bottom. Right, it would be underneath all the surface mount parts. So that's what I plan to do is just use solder paste and a hot plate and get all the surface mount parts soldered down, and then I'll have to either use a hot air gun or just solder it by a soldering iron because I can't flip it upside down because you got all the parts on the top out there already. So the hot air gun would be better, because then I won't lose all my parts on the other side, and then or I can just solder it down, but either way.
Very nice, Carl. Very nice. On that note, I want to thank you all for coming. Bob, thank you for showing up. I will email you and we'll set up a one-on-one, Bob. And I'll send you some links so that you can refresh your memory about what you did.
And I have a quick request about that profiler video that you're going to make.
Yeah.
Maybe you will, at the beginning of it, please put like an example of it running. I guess maybe you're going to do that anyway, but just show us like some simple ways
Yep,
that it can be
absolutely.
used.
So I'm going to demonstrate both versions, both the 81/1000 version, which is the one that Joanna Graham used when she was using it to book
Okay.
jazz musicians.
Because you may not believe this, but I've never used that program.
I
So.
cannot believe it. And then for the 2068, I have actually a database from our very own Willie, uh, from when he was doing property management back in the 80s. And it's got little listings of, like, what they went out and repaired and how much it cost and stuff. Really crazy that showed up. I think that came to me via Paul. But I did confirm with him, with Billy, that that was his database, and he thought it was
That's cool.
hilarious that it still existed. So yeah, yeah. And there's other stuff that Tom did. He wrote, some games, and he had some other applications. And Adam, I don't know if you recall, but you had a bunch of, really sort of interesting questions of Tom during that meeting we had with him, which I'll be, bringing into that video as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Jeff too, just so you know, I mean, I've made a cartridge, a ROM cartridge in kind of like in the 1510. Well, this is actually the game cartridge, but it's the same kind of cartridge, right? But it's a ROM replacement cartridge. And so you can have 8 or 16K ROMs in the flash chip, and it will obviously replace the ROM. But like you mentioned, there are some things that we need. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how you get around the isolation resistors and being able to really fully run a ROM externally. Because I think some other guy was working on it too. And
the 10-second answer is you got to pull some of the ULA logic external and then just talk to the CPU.
Right. Okay. So, once you get kind of, I know you said you're not a hardware guy, but I mean, it sounds like it's kind of hardware.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
I mean, if you need some help with that,
a little hard,
yeah,
Mhm.
because I'd like to be able to get a cartridge, like I said, that this, and you can put your ROMs on it and just plug it in and be able to replace the
that you
ROM.
could do well, yeah, except for the video, yeah, for the 81, yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah. Stay tuned. Yeah, I hope to have more to report.
Yeah, I mean, I know it does work with some ROMs. I've got, the Sponzi ROM works. Some ROMs don't need to address the video that way, right? They're the character set. But some ROMs, a few of them, yeah, you can't make them run outside without being fully in.
Gentlemen,
Anyway,
I'm cutting you off.
Yep. All right, guys.
Just
Bye,
like at the
guys.
bar.
It's a good one.
Last call was an hour ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
See y'all.
Good seeing everybody.
Have a
Take
good
care.
one, guys.